I thought my lifelong dream of hooking up with a goth baddie was finally going to happen, thanks to my hall pass, until Jesus stepped in to block my move. My wife and I have been together since we were 19, got married at 23, and we're solid, but we both agreed early on that we missed out on experiences. She was my first everything, I was hers. So 4 years into our marriage, we made a deal over wine on our anniversary. 1 hall pass each, no questions asked, just be safe and honest within 24 hours. The rules were simple. Had to be someone we'd never see again, had to use protection, and we had to tell each other everything afterward. She used hers 2 years ago at her friend's bachelorette party in Miami. Some resort worker she met at the pool. She came home, told me every detail while we ate takeout, and honestly, it just made us closer. We laughed about it. My turn finally came last month. I got sent to Portland for a 3-day tech conference. My company's first time sending me anywhere. I extended it to 5 days using my own vacation time because I'd never been to the Pacific Northwest. My wife couldn't come because she just started a new job and didn't have PTO yet. She actually encouraged me to enjoy myself, and when I left for the airport, she winked and said, "You know the rules if the opportunity comes up." I stayed at this vintage hotel downtown, $140 a night, which I thought was reasonable. The conference was boring as hell. Standard corporate presentations about cloud infrastructure. On the second night, I went to the hotel bar around 9 p.m., ordered a whiskey sour for $14 and sat at the corner. That's when I saw her walk in. Black hair with purple streaks, black lipstick, leather jacket covered in band patches, ripped fishnets, the whole package. She looked like she walked straight out of a My Chemical Romance music video. I've had this thing for goth girls since high school, but my wife's more of a sundress and cardigan type. She humors me sometimes by wearing black eyeliner, but this girl was the real deal. She sat 3 stools away and ordered a bourbon neat. I noticed she had a Bauhaus patch on her jacket, so I said something stupid like, "Nice patch. Bela Lugosi's Dead is a masterpiece." She turned, smiled, and we started talking. She said she was 28 and she was a tattoo artist from Seattle. She was in Portland for some convention at the convention center. We talked for 3 hours straight. She showed me photos of her work on her phone, these incredible black and gray pieces. We bonded over horror movies. She'd seen every A24 horror film. We talked about 90s grunge bands. She grew up in the Seattle scene. She laughed at all my jokes, touched my arm twice while talking, and kept maintaining eye contact. Around midnight, the bartender announced last call. I was about to suggest we continue talking tomorrow when she leaned in close. I could smell her perfume, something dark and vanilla, and she whispered that her room was on the 5th floor, room 517, if I wanted to continue the conversation somewhere more private. My hands actually started shaking. I excused myself to the bathroom, texted my wife immediately. The opportunity presented itself. French girl situation. Green light, she responded in 30 seconds. Yes, be safe. Want details tomorrow. Have fun, babe. I walked back out, told her I'd love to continue our conversation, and we headed to the elevator. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. We got in the elevator alone. She pressed 5 and we rode up in this charged silence. The hallway was empty, dim lighting, that hotel carpet smell. We got to her door. She pulled out her key card, and that's when I noticed something I hadn't seen at the bar. A small silver cross necklace partially hidden under her collar. I figured maybe it was just jewelry, aesthetic. Lots of goth people wear crosses, ironically. She opened the door, and I froze. Inside her room were 12 people, all roughly our age, sitting in a circle on the floor and on the beds. There were snacks on the desk, bottled water, and someone was holding a guitar. She turned to me with this genuinely warm smile and said, "I'm so glad you came. We're just about to start our midnight session." I stood there, confused, and she continued, "I could tell you were searching for something deeper when we talked. The convention isn't for tattoos, it's for a Christian outreach group. We do late-night prayer groups for people who are seeking." One guy in the circle waved at me and said, "Grab some chips, brother. We saved you a spot." I looked at her. She was completely sincere. No trick. She genuinely thought she was saving my soul. I stammered something about wrong floor, room 517, but I meant 417, backed into the hallway, and practically ran to the stairs. I got back to my room, sat on the bed for 10 minutes in complete silence, and called my wife. When I told her what happened, she didn't say anything for 5 seconds, then burst out laughing so hard she started crying. She laughed for a solid 10 minutes. I could hear her gasping for air. When she finally caught her breath, she said, "Maybe God's telling you something about your type, babe. Maybe I should start going to church and you'd be more into me." I told her that's not funny. She said it's the funniest thing she's ever heard, and she's telling everyone at her office tomorrow. I flew home the next day. My coworkers asked how Portland was. I just said the conference was fine.